Hey guys.
Hello, everybody.
We're a few minutes late this morning because YouTube changed everything. They're now doing this YouTube studio thing.
Your hair is unique. Shouldn't your conditioner be?
Ads,
guys, ads. All right, guys. So for those who are joining us for the very first time, we hang out with you guys for the first 10 minutes of every video while we wait for all of our alphas to get online. If you hear weird noises in the background, that is because Bubbers, our cat,
has found a box.
He has found a box that is also full of paper and packing things. So Mr. Moore now has a different chair. Did you guys notice that? Like people care.
Fits me better.
Like people care about this stuff. They're like, oh yeah, a chair. No, Mr. Moore did get a smaller chair, which makes things a little bit easier for us because it's easier for us to move around. So a little bit of news, guys. First of all, I am really sick, so we're not going to be able to do a super duper long Q&A this time. He was sick last week, and then today
I'm still getting over it, whatever I've had.
Yeah, today I woke up with a bit of a sore throat, so I don't know how long I'm going to be able to talk. Hi, Amy. Other pieces of news, guys. Down below, you're going to find a link with a little lollipop icon beside it that says candy, business candy from Renee. If you guys haven't signed up yet at alphasugar.com, Renee Christine has compiled this really cool assortment of business tools and resources and trainings and webinars and freebies that she is providing to the alphas. So if you sign up at that link below, the first thing that you're going to receive is her free product line training, which is going to teach you how to create product lines, which is very useful since we have some new seasons coming up. And then over the next few months, you'll get some new resources sent to you via email with, just over the next few weeks or months. I think it's like 60 days or something like that. So be sure to sign up down below if you would like to get those freebies. Another thing that you guys should definitely be marking on your calendar is Handmade Alpha Academy, which is opening in June. I can't remember what day. I think it's the 14th. Can't remember offhand, but it is opening mid-June. So that is super duper exciting. We'll be doing lots of Q&As, lots of info for everybody who's like, what the heck is that? That is my online course, which will teach you how to dominate your niche on Etsy. But I don't want to talk too much about that today since we're still a few months out from the opening for enrollment there. Good morning, everybody. Look at everybody popping in the chat. Everybody is here. That's awesome. All right. Let's see last week when Nate was here, you might remember me saying that we weren't going to have a Q&A on the 5th. We've actually switched that date. So we probably will be having a Q&A on the 5th, but we will not be having a Q&A on the 12th because we're doing something super secret squirrel that you guys can't know about until after, but that is going to be taking place on a Friday, so we will not be here. And then lastly, guys, after our Q&A last week, I had probably 200 people follow me on Instagram. And the reason that I'm really pushing my Instagram account right now is because I want to have the ability to put links in my Instagram stories. That way on Q&A days, you guys can just swipe up and it immediately take you to the Q&A from Instagram. So if you guys want to follow me on Instagram and help me reach that goal, let me go ahead and type in my name here. There is my Instagram username. Feel free to follow me and take a look at my crazy alpha / personal life. How's everybody doing this morning? I'll share on my stories to go follow. Oh, thank you. A couple people did that. So I really, really appreciate it. Super duper excited. Just, don't feel like
don't feel obligated.
Yeah, don't feel obligated. It's more for fun. If you don't want to follow me, if you genuinely don't want to follow me, you don't have to. But I really would like to try to reach that goal so I can start actually putting these Q&A links right in my Instagram story so it's easier for you guys to access. And right now I've only got like 2,000 something followers and we need 10,000. So we're quite a ways off, but I'm just going to keep promoting it. All right, guys, let's see. I started following you last week. I'm feeling yucky too. Hope you get better soon. Yeah. It is just, we've just been passing like colds back and forth to each other over the last few days. So
Yeah, it's been pretty rough.
yeah, almost ready to launch my own website. Pretty proud of how well I've built it. Awesome. That's kind of what we're going to be covering today. So we're going to have some tips for those who may not understand what the difference is, what the benefits are, and we're not going to get too in depth. Simply because we could go on forever and ever and ever. But this is going to be more for you if you just don't know what the difference is and what the benefit is, or why one might be better than the other, depending on what situation you're in.
We get a lot of questions like that in Q&As, especially when we do the open topic Q&As. We get a lot of questions on like, should I do Etsy? Should I do my own website?
An email. We get a lot of emails.
A lot of emails, yeah.
All right, guys, we've got about 1 minute. Super duper exciting. The last thing I want to point out is that we are still waiting on packages for our PO box so we can do our next unboxing video.
Send us stuff.
If you guys want your products featured, just make sure that you include your business card, because we take all these products, and if they're not like catered for us, like you didn't, if it's not a gift for us, what we do is we compile them all into a big giveaway. And so far we have given away 2 giant giveaway boxes since we started doing these. We just take all of these products and basically put them into one big box and host a random giveaway on the Starla and the Handmade Alphas Facebook page. So if you're new here and you're not familiar with that, you guys can expect to see a giveaway as soon as we have enough products to justify it, because we don't just send out 5 products. We send out like 20 to 30 products in these boxes to make sure that it is like the best day ever for our winners. So love your water bottles, Starla. Thank you. I got it at Kroger.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it is noon on the dot. You guys are probably going to see Amy running around. Amy. Everybody thinks her name is Hammy, like with an H. It's Amy, Ammy. It is, my favorite video game is Okami, and it is the nickname of the wolf in Okami. So that's where her name comes from. But anyway, guys. All right. So today we're going to be talking about what is the benefit of having your website versus having an Etsy shop, and when is the appropriate time to make the switch, or should you make the switch at all? And just a disclaimer, I don't sell on my own website, and I'll be talking about why I don't sell on my own website in just a little bit, but I am very knowledgeable about selling on your own website.
Wow.
Because
Friggin' record time.
Woo!
Jim Leahy.
Look at those trolls rolling in.
Go ahead and go for reporting you for hate speech right quick, and then I'm gonna.
All right, guys. So moving along while Mr. Moore takes care of the trolls, which is better, Etsy or your own website? First of all, let me know in the comments, do you have your own website as well as Etsy? Like, let me know, do you only sell on Etsy? Do you sell on a website and Etsy, or do you only sell on your website? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know. Let me know. Stephanie says, hope you're feeling better, Mark.
Oh, God damn it.
Oh, man, the trolls are crazy today. Let's see. Amber Marie.
asses.
Oh, this is why we need like a good moderator.
It's not gonna stop.
Let's see.
He's just gonna keep making more.
Only on Etsy, web and Etsy. Only Etsy. Currently just on Etsy. Both. Only Etsy. Both. Mostly website. Just Etsy. I have both. Only Etsy. It looks about even. All right, cool. So a lot of you guys are already an ultimate architect. We'll bring that up in a little bit too. That way, for those who are interested in creating their websites, like I'm sure that everybody who's in UA can agree that like Renee Christine created an amazing resource for people who do want to create their own websites. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, so it looks like we've got a good combination of people. So which is better? It entirely depends. And you guys have probably heard me use this metaphor before, but selling on Etsy is like taking your little store and putting it in a shopping mall, right? Like you've got this big shopping mall and there's already people there hanging out, browsing, going through all the stores, and they've got their money and they're ready to buy, right? So your shop is in this big shopping mall. Whereas having your own website is like having your store out in the middle of the woods, where you either have to have signs pointing to it saying that way, stores that way, in the form of SEO, Or you have to be really good at external advertising and having enough following so that word of mouth is strong enough to actually direct people to your website to buy, right? So those are the big differences. On Etsy, it's already a populated space where people are there to shop. So it takes a lot of the work out of the process, where your only job is SEO. And SEO on Etsy is very, very different than SEO on a website. And I would like to consider Etsy to be significantly easier than getting found by Google, where you're competing with literally everyone else who is on Google. This must be the new YouTube studio thing. Do you think that that has something to do with the number of trolls?
It must be. They keep saying that I'm a felon. I don't know what they're.
He's a felon. He's a felon, guys.
He's a lowlife. That's why they's online. He's a felon fuck.
All right.
Matt Damon.
Well, guys, hopefully you guys can ignore the trolls and we can get through this. And then I don't know what's going on, because YouTube created like this
criminal Mark. I've never even had a speeding ticket. So I deserve one for sure, but I've never had one.
Do a special troll show. Man, this is a bad one. This is a terrible one. Don't block Amber. That's funny.
Anyway, just ignore them, y'all. They're not gonna stop. Oh, nope. Yeah, we lagged for a second.
All right. So those are the main differences. It's like having your website in a mall, or having your shop in a mall, versus having it out in the woods, where both are going to require advertising, right? You've got to advertise for both. But on Etsy, it's as simple as, oh, these people are already in the mall. I can leave like these flyers here, or I can, put a sign out front of my store that points people in. That's the great thing about Etsy, is SEO is the one thing that is going to get you found, or advertising externally, which, obviously you can do that for your own website too. But with your own site, in terms of SEO, it's going to be a lot harder, because you're literally competing with every other seller who is selling on Google. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have your own website, and it's not a bad thing to sell on Etsy. What I like to see Etsy as is almost this gateway where you learn a little bit about what you need to do. Because for most of us, I didn't know anything about SEO. I didn't even know what SEO was until I started selling on Etsy, right? And I think that most of us can agree. It's very, very confusing when you start out and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to sell my crafts. And then you start hearing all these crazy terms that you've never heard before. And then you realize, oh, I have to become good at writing, crazy product descriptions. And now I have to become a photographer. And now I have to become a marketing expert. And now I have to learn SEO, and things just get really confusing, right? So both are going to require advertising, but it's significantly easier to advertise within that mall when you're starting out. But you can also graduate. And graduating, I feel, is when you reach that point where you've got followers of your own. Maybe you have an email list. Maybe you have a huge social media following. Maybe you're just stellar at advertising. You've already got people who, no matter where you're selling, they're going to follow you and they're going to buy, right? Or you have sustainability, where you don't require that Etsy traffic. You're to the point where the Etsy traffic isn't really going to make or break you. And then that might be the point where you close down your Etsy shop and primarily sell on your website. Or if you feel that you are in a position to, thank you. Bubbers is just going crazy today.
You're going upstairs permanently.
If you know that you will not have issue with startup cost, which is another really big one that a lot of people don't consider. Starting a website is, in the long run, having your own website is generally cheaper than selling on Etsy, because you do not have the fees, but there are startup costs involved. You have to get web hosting. You have to get your domain name. You have to get your SSL. You have to get all of the things that are going to ensure that you have a secure checkout system. So all of those things are costs that will, be hefty for startup, but then they tend to pay themselves off. So if you have no money at all and you're just starting, you've only got enough to, cover Etsy fees, maybe starting your own website at that time isn't right for you. And maybe you should wait until you have more consistent sales and followers. So, here is the little hack that most of our alphas do. And I know Amber Maria absolutely does this. I know that a majority of our alphas who have 2+ platforms who sell on Etsy and their websites do this, where they keep both open, but then Etsy becomes a funnel that leads people to buy from your website, thus reducing your fees and overall cost, because now everybody's buying from your website. And the way that you do this is not by listing your website in your Etsy shop, because that's a big no-no. And it's not by messaging customers and saying, hey, next time you buy, you can get a little cheaper on my website. No, what you do is you get these people into one location, whether that be on your email list, through a social media like a Facebook group, get them all in one place. And then once you've already hooked them, they've bought from you on Etsy, you get them in your group, you get them on your email list, or you add an insert into their physical package, which is okay. You can do that. If you've shipped from Etsy, you can add an insert with your website and you say, here's a coupon that you can use when you shop direct on my website. So you can't list that link directly on Etsy, but you can let them know that they can get a little discount using the special coupon by shopping directly on your website. Some people will do it. Some people prefer to shop on Etsy. Do you remember when we had Jacqueline, God, my nose itches, from the Wicked Griffin, and she had just released a new collection, and he loves her jewelry, and he wanted to buy this bracelet, and he was shopping on Etsy, and I said, hey, Jacqueline just finished her website. It looks really great. You should check it out. So we went over and he checked out her website and he's like, wow, it looks so cool. But ultimately he ended up buying on Etsy. And it wasn't because we didn't trust Jacqueline, and it wasn't because, we thought that her website looked sketchy.
It's just easier that way.
It was just, we already shopped there and it felt
I already
easier.
have an account. My bank account information's already in there.
So don't take it personally
easy.
if somebody chooses to buy on Etsy. It's great to have both. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but Etsy still can become that primary funnel, like what we've talked about with Amber Marie, where she's able to collect those initial sales on Etsy, but then later find ways to redirect those people and turn them into loyal website customers. Does that make sense? Now, I want to talk a little bit about why I personally did not start my own website. I do have a website for my Etsy brand, but I do not sell on it. It actually redirects straight to my Etsy shop. And I had joined Renee Christine's Ultimate Architect course to learn how to build my own website to sell my products. And I later decided not to, and I more used Ultimate Architect to build the Handmade Alpha Academy.com site, which you guys can access. It's only students can actually log in, but you guys can access it, see the homepage, and kind of see how pretty it looks. But
person did ask a question.
Well, let me keep moving here.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason, and I hear this all the time, why don't you start your own website? The reason is that my products in particular, because I have such a raving, loyal following, I have low stock and high demand. It is going to be almost impossible with the overall demand of my product, where anybody who's here who's seen my product launches know that everything sells out within like 30 seconds. It would be absolutely impossible for me to maintain having the Etsy shop and the website at the same time due to the speed that my products sell out when new items launch. So that is the primary reason. My secondary reason is it's easier for me. I like to keep all my eggs in one basket. I've got one selling location. You guys got to consider that on top of my Etsy shop, I'm a coach at the Handmade Alpha Academy. I'm helping with a lot of cool side projects from good friends of mine like Anthony Wolf and Renee Christine. There's a lot of components. And if you've got a busy life and you don't feel like you can manage both, I'm here to say that there is nothing wrong with only selling on Etsy, because I built my whole foundation on
it's
Etsy,
a lot of work, especially if you're dividing your products between the two. Because I mean, obviously managing stock when you're a low stock kind of shop is pretty hard between two different places already.
Right. And not only that, guys, the final reason is that I'm an Etsy coach, guys. I want to know every single change that happens. I want to see when products, stop selling. I want to monitor SEO. I want to see exactly what's trending on Etsy. I want to be right there in the mix for you guys so that I have the most relevant and up-to-date information for you when changes are made. So those are my personal choices for not selling on my own website. I do fantastic on Etsy, but that is not to say that if you guys have the time and the ability and you want to just go all out, having your own website is absolutely a fantastic choice because you're almost doubling your traffic sources. You've got people buying on your website and Etsy. And not only that, but it is so much easier to get recognized for, you know, big magazines and things like that when you have your own standalone website because it looks a lot more professional. And I have been featured in major news and media outlets for product launches for actual collection releases through my Etsy shop. However, it's almost like I felt weird sending people to my Etsy shop. You know what I mean? Like that's about the only time when I wish that I had my own website, just because I feel like it might be weird for people who, you know, see my brand and they see how established it is and then they realize that it's primarily on Etsy. But I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. It just really depends on your goals and what you see for your brand. And I'm telling you right now, there's nothing wrong with trying to wing both and test it, you know?
Doesn't hurt.
So I want to go ahead and gauge some interest, guys. We did talk a little bit about Ultimate Architect, and I don't know when Renee is going to be opening Ultimate Architect. That is her course that teaches you how to build your own e-commerce website where you can sell your products. And she teaches you how to design it, how to set it up, how to make it safe for shoppers. Because that department, you guys know that I am the Etsy coach, but when it comes to building my own website, I wouldn't have been able to do it without awesome people like Renee Christine. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, I was gonna drop her a message and pull some strings and see if she wants to do like anything exclusive for the alphas, like an exclusive opening, or if she's planning on opening it soon, doing some bonuses or something. So if you guys are interested in that, it's not like commenting yes isn't going to lock you in. You know, I'm not going to say you have to buy it now because you said yes, but if it's something that you're interested in and you'd like to learn more about it and maybe you know, hear more from her, then let me know in the comments and maybe we can work something out, because I know that I've had a lot of alphas asking me when it's going to open again, and I'll be perfectly honest, I don't know.
No idea.
So I want to gauge interest before we get into that. But while you guys are typing those in, Mr. Moore, you want to try to find that question that we missed?
There's quite a few questions.
Okay, let's go ahead and go back and answer some of those questions while they're letting me know if that's something that they want me to.
Just give me a second. I'm looking.
Do I look really sick, guys?
Somebody, or I think it was Amber, maybe. Somebody said I look like doo-doo.
You look like, yeah, we kind of both do.
They said they love me, but I look awful.
Yeah, you do look sick.
You look pretty awful. I've been sick for a week.
Yeah, he has.
7 straight days of being sick. I'm not doing hot.
No.
Today's, I think, the last day, though. I'm not coughing up like.
Here's the funny thing. I was sick, and then I got him sick, and then I got better, and then he got me sick again. So thankfully, I'm not as sick as I was.
Okay. Is it against Etsy's terms of service to put an insert in your package that directs your customer to your website with a coupon code? No. It is not. Etsy can't dictate what you're putting inside of your package.
Right. And I mean, that's an essential part of like your business cards. You know, if you have both links on your business card, Etsy can't dictate what you're putting in your actual packages. So
as long as the product you're selling is within their terms and conditions, they can't do anything about what else you're putting in there.
Yeah. And not to mention, I mean, their role is to monitor what's going on their platform. So obviously you're not allowed to put that link anywhere in your Etsy shop. But, you know, when it comes to your actual packages and things or what you're sending out on to your email list, that's totally different.
When it comes to fees, where do you save more, with Etsy or your own site? With Etsy, for sure.
No, I think it really depends.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably going to depend on how many products you have in your shop and how much you sell.
And where you're selling.
And how much you pay for your, that's a really hard question.
So with platforms like Shopify and we use like Weebly as an example. Those website builders, they aren't like your site. They're your site, but they're not your site. And it's those website builders, you're almost paying for that convenience. You know, but there's a lot more capabilities and a lot more freedom. And overall, your expenses are way cheaper when you do it yourself if you're using WordPress. That's what Renee Christine teaches in Architect, is how to just do it yourself.
Now, there are startup costs. That is a big deterrent for people. Starting a website can cost, depending on where you go, can cost anywhere from like $2,000 to like $10,000, depending on how much work you put into it, what all you pay for, what services you use, like.
Right. And $10,000 is like the high end if you have like a developer doing it.
In the long run, like your own website's probably going to net you more traffic depending on what products you have and how you do your marketing, but it takes more time to get there. Definitely takes a long time to get all that traffic coming. Right.
Architect would be the cheapest route to go. Just, just as always, there will always be startup expenses afterwards.
Anything. Even when you started your Etsy shop at first, you had to pay to get the first supplies and get a camera or a phone that could take pictures, all that. There's always startup costs.
What about Pattern? Pattern is not your own website, nor does it have, there's no SEO quality there. Pattern is literally something that you can say, if you don't have the time to make a website, it's just your Etsy shop. That's all Pattern is. Pattern is not your own website. And it does not have that strong SEO quality behind it either. So you're not going to be found in Google searches. That's just something pretty that you can list on social media, but ultimately Pattern is still your Etsy shop.
Where can I go for help with the tax end of an Etsy shop? Advice from you or the Alphas? I'm in New York, and I know there's been a lot of new changes with the IRS and collecting taxes. Get a good tax professional.
Yeah,
that's all I can really say.
We're not allowed to give you guys tax advice simply because we're not experts, and every location is going to be different. And not only every location, but for example, I had somebody ask me, someone who was in Ohio asked me about tax laws. They were in California, and they were asking me about tax laws in California.
We didn't pay California taxes
because they knew that we lived in California for 6 years, but we were
an exemption.
Yeah, because he was in the military, and we were still considered Ohio residents.
Military Spouse Tax Relief Act or something like, I can't remember. It was something goofy.
Get an accountant,
and don't trust any. Even if you ask somebody online, even in the Alphas page, unless you know for a fact the person is a tax professional, don't take anyone's advice. Get an actual tax professional to help you.
And even a tax professional in the Alphas, like any of our tax professionals, like
you need
Michelle,
to one-on-one with them if that's going to be the case.
Well, Michelle Harris, for example, will even tell you, like, here's what I know, but you need to talk to your local specialist.
Yeah, because things are different, sometimes county by county in the U.S. Outside of the U.S., y'all are out of luck. I don't know what to tell you.
Sassy Blossoms, is Shopify a good platform work, or would you suggest UA?
We don't really use it.
The thing about Shopify, Renee does a price breakdown between the cost of running a Shopify site versus the cost of running a website through UA. And it is significantly cheaper to go through Ultimate Architect. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit more time to set up, but you have control over everything. Whereas with Shopify,
that's everything that I've heard. The more control that you have over the website and creating things, the better it's going to be in the long run. Because if you start your own website on Shopify now and you put a bunch of money and a bunch of time into it, and it's not as universal as something even as simple as WordPress or just building your own site from scratch, you're going to end up down the road when you get to a point where your shop's big enough that you're going to have to completely recreate your website. Instead of just editing things here and there, you're going to have to completely redo it from scratch. So I would probably stick with staying away from Shopify. But if it's really what you want, I've heard nothing but good things. It's just it's not as universal.
Right. You don't have as much control, and it's generally not as cost effective as doing it yourself.
Do you consider to make a live video for one of a kind in Vintage?
I could.
We talk about it.
Yeah, we kind of sprinkle in one of a kind. There's really not a whole lot of advice that I can give for one of a kind, simply because you kind of already have to position yourself as that artist. And that's why we put on hold the creation of the, we were going to do a Handmade Alpha Academy, and I get asked about it all the time. And it's not that I'm not going to do it, but I need to do more research into it. And Vintage is, you kind of have to treat Vintage the same as doing one of a kind.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Obviously, with Vintage, you can sell bulk if you find
multiple of.
Yeah, but for the most part, you have to treat it as one of a kind, because once it's gone, it's gone. Yes, does it open at least once a year? I think they're talking about UA.
Ultimate Architect.
I think it's once a year.
Yeah, it's either once or twice. I can't remember offhand.
Twice.
I think that one's twice.
Spring
HTU
and fall. Did she already do architect this year?
I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I'll talk to
We
her.
both
If
feel
you
like
guys,
crap.
if you guys are interested in it, though, I will have a talk with her, because I know a lot of alphas have been emailing me about it recently. Maybe because it's spring and tax season, and everyone feels like, okay, this is time. So I will talk to her if you guys are interested.
Jacqueline says you both look fine.
Thank
you need
you,
to get your
Jacqueline.
eyes checked, Jacqueline. We love you.
Thank you.
I don't know what that was. It was like a peach. It wasn't even like a heart.
All right, let's see.
Let's see here. Is it still okay to use an image to invite people to join your email list via your website?
Of course.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're on your website, not your Etsy shop, I would recommend having a direct link so they can just click it, rather than actually putting that link onto an image. But on Etsy, for example, it's totally fine to put that link like on the last image of your listing photos, where you say, hey, you want to save 30% right now? Join my email list to get this coupon. We talked about email list a little bit 2 weeks ago during our MailChimp video, when I was way spunkier, because I was not sick at all that day.
Aside from putting a note in their package or email, is there any other way to drive traffic from Etsy to your website?
Social media and advertising.
Yep.
You have to be able to direct traffic through social media, and
like 90% of your marketing for everything in your business is going to be social media.
Yeah, social media is a great way to gain outreach. And ultimately, what I would recommend doing is not just advertising your products on social media, but also advertise your email list. Because once people are in there and you can give them like, here's a little coupon, here's a little sneak peek, oh, these products are launching in a week, they're way more likely to buy, because you've had that opportunity to really warm them up. And they're what is considered a warm lead versus a cold lead, or they're seeing you for the very first time, just kind of in their timeline.
Apparently, even Google thinks website builders are temporary, thus lowering Google ranking in the long run. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why that is. I've tried looking into that before, but I think it's just because the backlining code is the same for every website. So it groups them into like the same category, and they're going to pick whoever has the highest traffic to put them on top. So if you're not starting out like up here, then you're always going to be down here unless you get a miracle.
Thankfully, Renee teaches you how to actually SEO optimize your website.
And that can be pretty hard. Renee did pretty good with that.
Does
Etsy collect tax for you, and are you responsible for paying the IRS?
Of course
you are 100% responsible for paying the IRS. Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like Lynn, you may want to go to your local small business bureau and or your small business administration,
you might
SBA.
Want to take some classes for sure.
Yeah, because if you collect any money on Etsy, if you sell anything, you
more than like, it depends on the state, but like $300-400.
But if you're making sales, regardless, you should be tracking it and claiming it. That's 100%. Income.
The last thing you want is them to swoop in and take your business out from under you when you're already not making any money on it.
Yeah, we made some tax mistakes once. I won't get into that, but we ended up owing like $8,000 our first year.
We paid it.
Of course, we paid it. We had to get on a payment plan though, because at that time
we didn't know what we were doing.
Well, our Etsy shop didn't make very much money, and that was like my first year. We didn't get enough money to cover it. So
$8,000 was like half of what we made.
Yeah.
We were like, how are they taking like 50-60% when we made less than $20,000?
But that was just because of the fees, because we goofed up so bad. I was 20.
To do taxes for every state I shop to through Etsy?
No, and it sounds like you might want to check out the Etsy seller handbook. There will be the specific states. Can you guys remember offhand what they are? It'll tell you in the Etsy seller handbook.
I know California has online sales tax.
Washington and Etsy.
There aren't very many.
Yeah, guys. And like I said, when it comes to taxes, you guys need to be talking to professionals. Don't take everything that we say and everything any YouTube channel tells you, you need to take with a grain of salt. You need to talk to your local tax professionals. We 100% rely on our accountant. So without her, we would just be a mess. So get yourself a good accountant. It is so worth it.
Can you do e-commerce with Squarespace? So all of these website builders are practically the same thing.
Yep.
It's just the user interface that's different. They're all the exact same thing.
Yep. They're called like drag and drop builders, because that's literally what it is. I have a drag and drop builder for my website for my Etsy shop, art by starlamore.net, because somebody had bought .com out from under me. But there's like no there's no customization options there. Like there's very little that you can actually do with it. So I highly recommend doing it yourself, whether that's with Ultimate Architect or on your own, going with WordPress and really taking the time to learn how to do it on your own.
Can you send the email sign up link and an after email message to the buyer?
The email sign up links are fine. But I wouldn't send it in it.
Nah, that's not really transactional.
Right.
That's not transactional information. And Etsy messages are supposed to be 100% transactional.
Yeah. If you wanted to throw in like a PS, if you want to save, 30% off on your next order, you can join my email list here.
Probably be
but you can't just go back and like message all your old customers and ask them.
It needs to be like, I would even do it before you even ship the order.
Yeah.
Like, thanks for placing your order, blah, 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 blah. PS.
If you want to say.
You can do this. If you end up liking my products, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. All that nonsense. A lot of people saying they use Squarespace. We're not doing Etsy shop critiques.
Not today, at least.
Nah, not today. We'll do those every great once in a while.
Yeah, because we don't want to turn into the critique channel, guys. That would not be in everybody's.
We would have to charge fairly for our time, and we're very, very busy, and we don't want to charge somebody a ridiculous amount of money to do their shop. We'd rather you just wait and get lucky and have it done for free.
Yeah, because we do them live. It's just we don't want to do them every single week. That would burn you guys out.
Yeah, that would burn everybody out. Investigate your tax account. I had one that cost me $20,000, not $2,000. That was quoted. See, that's why we go through H&R tax professionals. We don't use H&R Block.
We use Block Advisors,
and they're private tax people that are backed by H&R Block, and we pay for the highest insurance that they've got. So if they goof it up, we don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, Block Advisors is a lot different because they're actually designed to help small businesses.
Yeah.
And our girl, our lady, she is phenomenal. She's got almost 40 years experience. So
can you provide tips for keeping track of inventory? Write it all down.
I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. Are you talking about your actual inventory, like stock in shop? Because if you're doing Etsy, that's kind of listed right there for you. You can do it pen and paper. I personally just rely on Etsy. There's some capabilities with EtsyRank.com, with eRank now, but still URL is still EtsyRank.com. He's working on that as we speak. So,
yep.
But there are some inventory tools in there. But ultimately, it's really just about what you are most comfortable with. I'm a pen and paper type of girl. I don't like doing everything on the computer. But obviously, if you're selling a lot, you might want to consider doing something like a spreadsheet to keep track of your inventory. But it's really more about what you're most comfortable with.
All right. When were you wanting to cut this? We're at 12:30.
That's all right.
5 more minutes.
Yeah, we'll keep. Do we have any more questions?
Like 2.
Oh, okay.
So my Pinterest for business would all link to my own website, right? Any advantage to linking my Etsy from Pinterest?
It really doesn't matter. I would say use your own website if you're doing external marketing, because ultimately that's your main objective anyways, to get more traffic on your website. The one advantage that there might be is that if you get more sales on Etsy, obviously that's going to help build your sales reputation over there, which is going to boost you in search rankings. The more sales that you make and the higher review status that you have, and the more frequently you're making those sales, the more likely Etsy is to boost you in search, because they know that people are buying what you have. Therefore, if people are already buying it, that means that you have a high demand product, and Etsy is going to get a bigger cut. So when it comes to linking, I would recommend doing your website. But if you want to experiment with it, maybe do like an A/B split test, split it in half. Do some for Etsy, do some for your own website, and see how it works. But ultimately, if you're doing external marketing, I would drive people to your website.
Would you have any advice on how to launch products or collection if every single one is different? One of a kind again. I have so many questions.
For a product collection, if every single one is different, you just need to make sure that you're really, really expressing that those products are unique, where the price points come from, because you're going to want to price a little bit higher because they're unique, and making sure that you are positioning yourself not just as a seller, because ultimately if you're creating one of a kind, you have to position yourself as an artisan over just like a seller. You know what I mean? You have to almost, all that weight that you have to carry falls back on like your name as the artist because of the one of a kind, you know, quality of your product. For one of a kind sellers, depending on what you sell, if you're in the jewelry industry, pottery industry, art industry, for any of those industries where you're actually creating something that is moderately tangible, I usually recommend getting a good start on DeviantArt.com. I'm sure a lot of you guys use it, but one thing that I really love about DeviantArt is that I noticed that my actual the backlinking there is so powerful because it's been around so long. If you go to Google Images and you type in fantasy key necklace and go into the images, almost all those images are mine, and they're almost all from DeviantArt. I get tons of actual sales and traffic from DeviantArt, and I'm very, very active in my groups on DeviantArt. So posting your art in your groups. The only thing is you just have to make sure that you are joining groups that are relevant to whatever you're creating, whether that be a pottery group, whether that be, if it's something tangible, it's usually going to fall into artists and crafts. For example, Amber Marie, she does pet portraits. So she might try to find like sketch artist groups or realism groups. But that would be a really, really good resource. If you exclusively create one of a kind and you want to position yourself more as an artist where your work is going to be valued, you know, based on the fact that it is one of a kind work, like one of a kind art. And that's how I got my start, when I was only selling one of a kind keys, which I did that for what, 2 or 3 years. I did it for a long time. And if you guys have any way to switch from one of a kind to creating product lines, I highly recommend it. I cannot tell you how
unless you're already big, you're probably going to make a lot more money doing product launches than one of a kind. And
when I say a lot more money, like I'm talking like $6,000 more per launch. Like it is a significant difference. And
we didn't have that many more customers when we switched over to product launches.
We just had more supply.
Yeah.
You know? So DeviantArt.com, really great resource. Might take you a little while to figure out. I've been on DeviantArt for going on, I think, 13 years. But it hasn't really changed a whole lot since it first came out. So check it out. You guys can also find me on DeviantArt at Art by Starla more if you're interested in seeing how I utilize DeviantArt. I do have a premium membership over there, and it's for
people are understanding what you're saying.
DeviantArt. DeviantArt. Sorry, guys, I'm sick. All right. Jennifer, I am not talking about Pattern. Pattern is not your own website. No. I'm talking about your own website that you created. Pattern is not your own website. It is an extension of your Etsy shop.
If I remember right, domains are available through Google. Are they able to be used to link our Etsy shops?
Yes. You can link your Etsy shop through your domain name. And I personally recommend Google domains over GoDaddy. Simply because GoDaddy, they do a lot of sales for like 99-cent domain names, which is great. We've bought a couple 99-cent domain names, but if you don't pay for the $18 or $18.99 insurance, they will sell your phone number. And we get, I would say, at least between the two of us, at least 10 spam calls a day. And it is always
at least,
and it's always just automated.
Either automated or obviously Indian scammer. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm way more confident about Google domains, even because I mean the 99-cent domain looks great, but when you are getting like looped into buying an almost $20 insurance plan just to keep the integrity of your phone number safe, it's not worth it. So I would go with Google domains if I were you guys, and those can all link to your G Suite account if you already use Google domains for anything else, like having a Google like domain email. I've got all my domain names run through Google.
Any tips on product lines for graphic tees? How can I get a higher priced item when they're almost all the same?
Make sure that the design of that you have to justify it through what you can. So maybe you create a design on a tee, but the original took you a really long time to create. It has to stand out in a very special way. You know what I mean? So I would just make sure that it's the design itself that is what is bringing the value, that you're attaching the value to the design. So it has to actually stand out in a way where people are going to accept that price. Does that make sense?
Bonkers About Alice asked if there's any way to turn on subtitles. I don't think so. Not on a live stream.
No, not for live.
Once it's done, it'll take a few hours to process, and then closed captions should come on, but they're not super reliable for YouTube.
They're not always very accurate.
Can you transfer a domain name from GoDaddy to a Google domain? You can usually transfer the domain name from anybody to anybody. It's just they're going to charge you money to do it.
Yeah.
I
If you've already got
know
it.
how, though.
Yeah, if you've already got it through GoDaddy and you're not experiencing any issues, that's okay.
Usually the company you're trying to switch it to has to do it for you.
Yeah.
Like you have to pay them to do it. So like we switched over from HostGator to SiteGround, and I had to pay SiteGround like 40,
that was for our hosting.
yeah,
though.
for our hosting.
But I'm not totally sure when it comes to domain names.
I had to switch the domain name as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's see.
So Google does not list your info on whois.com. Usually you have to pay for a security thing when you buy a domain name.
Yeah. I think that everybody's kind of listed on whois.com though, aren't they?
Or not.
Or we're not. Did we
I mean, we are, but it just says for more info, contact whois.whatever.
Yeah, and then you have to pay, right?
Can you spell out what you're talking about? I can't quite understand what you're saying. Yeah, we did that a minute ago.
Just do the actual link, DeviantArt.com. There you go. DeviantArt.com. And DeviantArt, it's a really weird place, guys. There's like really weird nude art on there too, but it's everything art. If it's art, it's there. And not all art is, not everybody agrees with art. Let me
yeah, definitely not.
There's some weird there's a dark side to DeviantArt, if that makes sense. Let me actually.
We need to be cutting the stream, Sweet Pea.
That's all right. Let me see here. If it'll let me actually log in. Okay.
McClin said weird nude art lol.
There is. Okay, so let me show you just very, very briefly. All right, so this is my DeviantArt platform, and a lot of these are keys that some of them are personal, some of them are things that I've just created for giveaways and to send to people. These are like the best of my designs, though. A lot of times, like for example, if I've got like an author or someone, I'll send them a cool design, or if I'm going to a concert and I know that I'm going to be like close to the lead singer, I will make them a key. But this is just kind of an example. It's basically an online portfolio for your artwork, though. And you can kind of grab and collect art and save it. So it's a really neat resource if it's something you guys are interested in.
Swing that over.
There we go. So, and the backlinking quality on it is really great if you know a thing or two about SEO. So DeviantArt is the Reddit of the art world. It be wild. Yes, it is. That's exactly how I would compare it.
Wild is a word for it.
Yeah, wild. It can be
Sorry, my
crazy.
voice is pretty much completely gone.
All right. Let's see. Last comments. Who would you recommend for building a website? I have a domain name. We kind of already covered that like way previously, Jennifer. You might want to watch the replay because I think that you might have missed the.
Yeah, you've asked a couple of questions.
Yeah.
And it kind of repeats.
I would watch the replay because we go over all that. Can you link your DeviantArt? Just type in Art by Starla Moore on DeviantArt and you'll find me.
Is it realistic to have a website in Greece and sell to the US?
Absolutely.
Yeah, why not?
Absolutely. It really doesn't, as long as you're following the rules and regulations of your country, you can absolutely have a primary target market in a different country.
Yeah, and your country's laws are probably a lot more strict than ours when it comes to internet stuff. So
what's the deal with craft count? It's been down for a while. I'm actually not sure. I noticed a couple people saying that it was back up and then it was back down again. So I'm sure they're trying really hard to fix it, but offhand, I have no idea. I don't really use craft count. So, but I have been seeing everybody freaking out that it's been down forever.
My best friend says what I do is not art. We go long months without talking. Then they're not an artist. They clearly don't understand what art is.
Art can be anything. That's art. That's what art is. It can be anything.
Yeah. I could fart into a jar and cap it off and call it art, and you can't argue that. That's what I think art is.
Doug, do you make all of your items yourself, or do you have them made by other people helping out? How long does it take to make an item? It depends on the item. For the last 6 years, I've made everything myself, but now I also have my dad who helps me, to keep stock in stock, because I have such high demand for my products. They aren't your friend either. Rudeness. Yes. All right, guys. So we're starting to lose our voices. So we're going to go ahead and hop off here and go get some medicine. Or sorry that that we've had to cut it short today. I know that it's just been crazy the last few days. Ohio winters are a pain in the butt for those who live in warmer regions. It gets really cold here, and the springs are awful. Springs are nice, but the pollen is bad. So I'll go ahead and answer the last question, though. How do you know a payment has cleared on Etsy? I was told to wait until payments clear before shipping. You won't be able to actually print your label and see their address until your payment clears. So as long as you can see their address and you have the option to ship it, then it has cleared.
She said Ricola. No, I've got the supersized bag over here, yo. No worries.
I don't like those cough drops. I got to do the cream ones because menthol makes me like gag really bad for some reason. So, all right, guys, I hope you have an awesome weekend. Make sure to get all of the goodies that are listed down below. And if you guys have not joined the Handmade Alpha VIPs, I sent out some really great marketing calendars last week. If you didn't get those, then I will be posting some more links in the group probably later this weekend, or you have another opportunity to grab them in case you missed them. So guys, have a great weekend, and we will see you next Friday. Bye.
Bye-bye.